Hey guys, Joshua Meeks with the PNW team, and I wanted to give a quick training video today on open houses and buyer experience. The buyer experience in some cases may start at the open house itself. Sometimes it'll be a buyer that maybe a friend referred to you, or somebody that you met out and about networking, or somebody that may have found you on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere else. But what we want to talk about is open houses in regards to that being potentially the first experience somebody has with you. In church, we talk a lot of times about the consumer experience per se, or the attendee experience, in the sense that in the first 60 seconds, sometimes even in the first 30 seconds, somebody walks into a church, they have an idea if they feel comfortable or not, if they feel like the environment's taken care of, if they're being recognized, if they're being acknowledged, if the environment is inviting enough that they immediately think, this is somewhere where I can see myself coming back. And within our real estate team, we try to do the same thing. We try to set an environment, try to set a setting in which buyers feel comfortable. They feel comfortable because they know that we're excited to serve them, because they know that we're able to serve them, and because they know that we are qualified, or more than qualified, to deliver to them an experience that exceeds both the standards within the real estate market and what they might expect or hope to find within a real estate experience. So speaking specifically and strategically today from the buyer side, we want to start with open houses. We talk a lot in our industry about mega open houses, or at least specifically on our team about mega open houses. So what we want to do is start specifically by stating what is an open house. And for the sake of our team, what open houses typically mean is somewhere between 6 to 10 open house signs. It's balloons, it's sharing on social media ahead of time, so that could be, Instagram, Facebook, whatever other LinkedIn profile, you're maybe just emailing out to your sphere to let them know ahead of time. It could even be calling some people that you know and say, hey, you live in this area, you might know somebody looking in this area, we are active in this area, we're experienced in this area, and letting your clients in your database know specifically that we are working in that area, that we're hosting an open house. It could be leveraging additional open houses. For those audience, leverage opens around you. It is definitely substantiated by knocking on 100 doors. This is probably the biggest opportunity that you have to convert both buyers and sellers, and to set a first incredible experience for a PNW real estate client on the team, and to let them know that not only are we just doing the activities, not only are we just setting up signs and showing up, but that we're actually proactively pursuing clients and pursuing buyers for our sellers and sellers for our buyers. So knocking on 100 doors is huge. That's potentially one of your largest opportunities to meet new people, to get face to face with people, and to set yourself apart from everybody else in the industry. So setting up 6 to 10 open house signs, setting up balloons, sharing on social media, leveraging other open houses or community events that are happening around you, knocking on 100 doors, and probably a few other things that we could add to there. That could be, setting up flags in front of open house. In front of open, that could be, again, calling your sphere in the area. And other things that within your experience could add leverage to your open house. Now, what we find in most open houses, how we would differentiate between a mediocre open house, which sounds like a harsh word, but it's I think the reality for 90% of the agents, or probably even more in our industry. They're just showing up, right? They're just showing up, putting out a couple signs. They're hosting the open house. They're watching their clock. They're trying to get out of there, maybe knocking out some work while they're there, and they're not really being present. Actually, one more thing I would add that's really a really big one is having materials available. Having materials available for buyers, for sellers, being able to present our value proposition, definitely having flyers on site. One more key, huge one, is having a sign-in table. if you're not able to build your database through the open house, you've kind of wasted your time, because the database is the #1 source of growing your sphere, of growing your influence, of growing your business. So I would say we don't want to miss out on these. Having materials available, having flyers available, and most importantly, let's not forget the sign-in table. I would say the sign-in table and knocking on 100 doors, these are definitely your biggest leverage as an open house. And if you're not doing those two, or if you're not doing them well, to set yourself apart, huge missed opportunity. But having materials available, that could be knowing your value proposition. That could be knowing, the vision, the mission, the values of the company that you're with. But it can also be just having some simple brochure, as far as for buyers, as far as for sellers, from the team that you could bring up. If you have any questions specifically on what that looks like, whether it's a lease option opportunities or buyer opportunities or fixer opportunities or other situations where we can specifically help support your open house or provide materials for your open house, please seek us out, and we'll be more than happy to set you up with those materials. So tons of opportunity within the real estate industry to really leverage open houses. Again, not just as an opportunity to show up and to put out signs and to check that box for our sellers, but to truly convert massive amount of buyers. The question was asked at a team meeting this morning, what is the probability of converting somebody from an open house to being one of your clients? And I would say, in my experience, if you are just checking the box, right, if you're just showing up, you probably have, and this is kind of a disheartening stat, about a 5% chance, in my experience, about 1 out of 20 open houses, or about 1 out of 20 people that come through that open house, you have about a 5% chance of converting somebody into an actual buyer if all you're doing is showing up, putting up open house signs, and then moving on. If you're willing to do all of the steps, if you're willing to really host an open house, to really host a mega open house, that goes from about 5% to 50% without exaggeration. If all you did is knock on 100 doors and have that opportunity to leverage that open house as an excuse to contribute value to the community and let them know that we have an open house coming, that we're actively searching for buyers for our sellers and for sellers for our buyers, that alone is a massive value. But you legitimately go from about a 5% chance to a 50% chance. So I think in our industry, it's really common for agents to show up and to just check the couple boxes of maybe being present and not really going through the hard work of the 90% that goes into an open house that's really in the preparation more than just the activity of showing up itself. And then sometimes we're surprised when we don't have the 50%, when we just have the 5%. And so my encouragement to you is to create a huge leverage for yourself by really maximizing the open house into what it could be, to stand out from other real estate agents in the area and not just do a mediocre open house, but to do a mega open house. And I can guarantee that when you do that you're going to see massive results, that you're going to see your database grow, that you're going to see people show up and say, wow, I thought I had somebody in mind, but there's no way I can walk away from this open house and not create the opportunity to sit down with you as a real estate agent, as a buyer specialist, as a listing specialist, whatever area you might be on the team. They're going to want to sit down with you if you really create a mega open house and let them know, hey, we have a massive value proposition. I think one of the most disheartening things that we could do as an agent is to have massive value in ourselves and not to share what that is, because every one of the people on our team are on our team specifically because you have an incredible value that you bring not just to the team but to the community, and we want to help you share what that value is and to provide materials, whether it's video business cards or flyers or pamphlets, whatever we can do to help you advocate the value that PNW Real Estate brings to the industry, but also that you independently, uniquely bring to the real estate industry. So super grateful to have you guys on the team. Want to see you build and grow your database. Want to see you do mega open houses and to provide everything that we can. Whether it's the simple things like having the helium tank filled up or things that are more in the details of having flyers or pamphlets prepared for you, things that you can just grab and go, anything that we can do to support you, we want to see that happen. We want to make that happen. That moves on to the buyer experience, and I just want to touch quickly on creating as much of a holistic buyer experience that really considers our client as much as possible. 3 words that are on my mind a lot recently in my home life and in my business life are grit, grace, and gratitude. And I think if those 3 things, if we're willing to present that, not necessarily those specific words, but that attitude, that character to our clients throughout the transaction, I really think it's going to allow us to set ourselves apart in a tremendous way. So my encouragement to you is that whether it's the first step of meeting with somebody or setting that first appointment and just really being in tune and in touch and taking notes at the open house on what's important to them, or at your first meeting on what's important to them, and letting them know, hey, this is how I'm going to follow up, this is when I'm going to follow up, this is why I'm going to follow up, here's where we're coming from in the process, here's where we're at in the process, here's the next step in the process, here's some things that in our experience might come up as a concern, here's how we're trying to mitigate that, here's how we're trying to really expect the best and prepare for the worst. If we're willing to have those conversations with our clients, it's going to put them in a comfortable position that no matter what conflict comes up, that they know that they can trust you as the real estate agent, that they can trust you to bring representation to them, that they can trust you to be shoulder to shoulder or not toe to toe with them, and to really go to bat for them and share with you both things that we can fix and feedback, but also share with you, moments of joy, and share with their community and with their fan base that you're doing a great job and that they would highly recommend you, and that's what we want to see for you. So whether it's the inspection and thinking ahead and being in tune again throughout the inspection, throughout the appraisal, throughout the walkthroughs, through making sure that those inspection items are taken care of prior to closing, anything that we can do to put ourselves in the position of the buyer and say, if I was the buyer, what's my concern? If I was the buyer, what's the next step? What's the next concern? What's the next question that I might have as a buyer? As somebody who's been in the real estate industry for about 6 years now, I can tell you what I'm guilty of doing is assuming that everything that's common knowledge for me is common knowledge for my buyer or common knowledge for my seller, because it's our day-to-day activities. So I think some of those things that we assume, hey, it's kind of a given knowledge, we forget that maybe this might be their 5th transaction or it might be their first transaction, and that everything from the small details of knowing what title and escrow means to knowing what time they get keys, or what the process of leaving the house looks like, or how to prepare for an open house, or what's important on sculpting a competitive offer, all those little details, as many of those as that we can economize or make efficient, we want to do that on your behalf, and then really make sure that we have a personal touch to the transaction. Our motto used to be, how was it? Performance-driven people focus is what it is now, and it used to say something along the lines of it's a personalized touch. So we want to keep things efficient. We want to let them know that we have a huge value proposition as a team with people that are there to support them in every aspect of the transaction, and we also want to let them know that it's going to be a personal transaction, that they're going to have that personal touch where somebody's intuitive to them specifically to know what their needs are and to really think not just how a general transaction goes, but what's important for this specific client today. So regarding open houses and buyer experience, let me know if you all have any questions on that. Again, we will be here at 10:15 almost every Friday for a team training. We would love to see you there if you have specific questions. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good week.